In this video, I am going to talk about Newton's three laws of motions. So I am going to talk about what is inertia and how can you see some real life example of inertia. I'll talk about Newton's second law of motion, and to make things crystal clear, I am going to talk about what is momentum, what is intuitive understanding of force and change in momentum. How does it relate to mass, how does it relate to velocity, and how does it relate to the time taken to impart the change in the momentum. I'm also going to talk about what is the unit of force and what does it mean. Then I'll talk about Newton's third law of motion and the conservation of momentum. How does it relate to conservation of momentum? We are also going to do 4 workouts because workout actually help you to understand the formula better. So I'm going to do some workout also along with the course, along with the videos. So let's get started with the first law of motion. The first law of motion says, in absence of net external force, you need to understand I am talking of net. So whatever external force, if there are 3-4 external forces also applying, if the net external force is 0, in the absence of net external force, an object in rest, if it is on rest here, it continues to be in rest. An object which is moving with a velocity v continue to move with the same velocity, and this kind of thing you can see in interstellar space where net gravitational pull is 0 from all the objects. In that case, if a particle is moving with velocity v, it will keep moving with the same velocity. So in the absence of net external force, when all the external forces are balancing out, the object continues to stay in rest if it is in rest, or continues to move with the same velocity if it is moving. That is the property which is called inertia, which means resistance to change. If it is in rest, continues to be in rest. If it is moving, continues to be moving. And we see this example in everyday life. For example, if you have a stack of book and you take a book, you pick a book and take it out very fast, you'll see that all the books will essentially just come down. So essentially, if you're pulling this book very fast, these books will just go down and adjust. Just only one book will come, because the upper part of the books are in static situation, static position, and they want to remain static. The second example, when the bus starts, you will find that your lower part actually moves, but upper part actually comes behind, because the upper part wants to remain static, where the lower part, which is in contact with the bus and its frame, moves. Upper part, which is not so connected, and our body is not so rigid, it's little flexible, it has different joints, that's why it allows relative movement. It actually wants to remain where it is, and that's why the lower portion goes ahead and upper portion remains like static, and that's why it looks like you are actually going back a bit. The third example, let me show you through some images. So if you put some coins on top of a glass and you put a paper, so here is a glass, you put a paper, and on top of that you are putting paper or cardboard and some coins, and if you hit that cardboard, what happens? The cardboard moves, but the coins fall here. Again, because the coins are static, they want to remain static, and that's the example of inertia. But if you look at all 3 examples that I have talked are example of inertia at rest. Let me talk of example of inertia when it is at motion. So essentially the same example, when bus comes to halt, you will find that the upper portion of your body actually comes forward. Why? Because the lower part, which is connected with the frame of bus, stops the moment bus stops, but the upper portion, which is moving, continues to move, and that's why the upper portion just comes forward. Now let's go to the Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion says the rate of change in momentum is equal to the force applied. I am reasonably sure that it is not clear. To understand this better, we'll have to understand several things like momentum, and then we need to understand it better. So let's do first understand the momentum and everything, and then we'll come back to this definition once again. That's the promise. So momentum is a vector quantity. Momentum is defined as mass into velocity. So what is the direction of momentum? Obviously mass is just the quantity, so momentum is in the same direction as the velocity. And what is the direction of momentum? Now once we are clear, understand this way, that a 1 kg ball traveling at 4 meter per second and a 4 kg ball traveling at 1 meter per second is actually the same thing. Intuitively we know that we will require the same force to stop if 1 kg is moving with 4 meter per second speed and 4 kg is moving with 1 meter per second speed. Let's revisit some more example. If a ball is moving with 5 meter per second in negative x direction and its weight is 4 kg, then the momentum will be 4 into 5 minus 20 we are writing because it is in the negative x axis. But why do we need to know all these things? A question comes that why do we need to know momentum, what's the practical usage? So let me explain you the practical usage. So this is a hockey stick, these are the ball. Now understand one by one that what happens. So let's say the ball has been traveling at 1 meter per second, so momentum will be 1 kg meter per second. Now if you need to bring the ball into 2 meter per second in some time, let's say in 2 seconds, you need to apply certain force. But if you need to bring the ball into 3 meter per second in same time, let's say 2 seconds, you'll require more force, right? I mean intuitively clear that if you can run with the ball for let's say 2 seconds only, if you apply certain force to bring it into 2 meter per second, you will have to apply more force to bring it to 3 meter per second. More the velocity required, or more the change in the velocity. 1 meter was the velocity, you brought it to 2, then you increased by 1. When you brought it to 3, you increased by 2 units. So more the change in the velocity required, more the force needed. It's so clear. Now let's understand one more thing. A 1 kg ball traveling at 1 meter per second has momentum, and a 2 kg at 1 meter per second has 2 kg ms meter per second is the momentum. So to bring a 1 kg ball into 2 meter per second in some time will require certain force, and a 2 kg to bring the 2 kg ball into 2 meter per second in same time, whatever time it was, will require double the force, right? Because double the weight, double the force required. We know it intuitively. Even a child knows that more the weight, you require more force to stop it or whatever. The point that I am trying to say, that more the mass of the object, more the force needed. And one more thing you need to understand. Till now I talked about when the speed was 1 kg, 1 meter per second, you try to bring it to 2 meter or 3 meter, but the same is applicable even when you want to stop it. When the mass is more, you will require more effort to stop it. And when the velocity is more, so if a ball is traveling with 3 meter per second, you want to stop it, obviously you need to put more effort than a ball which is moving with 1 meter per second. So more the change in the velocity, more the change in the velocity, because in the beginning your velocity is very high and when it stops at 0, so more the momentum, more difficult to stop it, more force is required. So with that, two things becomes pretty clear, that more the mass or bigger change in the velocity, hence bigger momentum, bigger change in momentum will require more force. So when a ball, it is more difficult to move a 2 kg ball than 1 kg, and if it is moving with 1 meter per second, you want to move it to 2 meter per second is one thing. If you want to move it 3 meter per second is different thing. 3 meter per second will require more effort because there is a more change in the velocity, more change in the momentum. Let's understand one more thing. A 1 kg ball traveling at 1 meter per second, again the same situation, and you can run with hockey stick for some time and you bring it into 2 meter per second speed, will require certain force. But what if I say you that you cannot run it for that much? So if somebody, like in hockey, if somebody can run with the ball for, let's say, 10 seconds, he will apply certain force. But if somebody has to get the same velocity in just 5 seconds, obviously you will have to apply double the force, because in very quick time you need to bring the same speed. So essentially, to bring the ball into 2 meter per second in half the time, rather than in some time, half the time, you'll require double the force. So if you look at here, you got a chance to move with the ball for some time. Here you didn't get chance to move with the ball for that much. You got much lesser time to move with the ball. So obviously you'll have to apply double the force. If you have to bring the ball into 2 meter per second twice the time that you have taken, obviously, like in lieu of 10 seconds, you can run with the ball, say, for 20 seconds. With the half the force also you can bring. So overall, the point that I am trying to say, that quicker the change in momentum, more the force needed. So if you put together all the three things, what you realize, that more the change in momentum, more mass or more velocity change, more force is needed. And quicker the change in momentum, so if you want to change the momentum, let's say in 10 seconds, whatever force you require, if you want to change the momentum in 5 seconds, you'll require more force. So obviously the force requirement is proportional to this, but not, it's just opposite of that. So essentially you will feel it should go like that. The change in momentum will be proportional to the force, but the time taken in for the change will be, if you can take more time, you'll require less force. If you do not have that much time, if you have to do it in quick time, you'll require more force. So if a object which is moving with mass m, velocity was brought from u to v in t time. So if you think of what is the change in momentum, mv is the final momentum, mu is the initial momentum. So mv minus mu gives you the change in momentum. T is the time unit. M you can take it out, so you can say it's v minus u by t. But if you recall, v minus u by t is nothing but the acceleration. So force equal to mass into acceleration is one of the universal thing, and you will find many formulas, many exercise based on this. So keep in mind, force equal to mass into acceleration. That's what is the Newton's second law. So if you recall, that's what I had talked, rate of change in momentum is equal to force applied. Once you are clear with the momentum and these 2 points, this point becomes very obvious. Let's understand what is the unit of force. So unit of force is m into a, m is in kg, a into meter per second, and it is called Newton. So what is Newton? Newton is that force, when you apply it on 1 kg mass, it will bring 1 meter per second square acceleration in its direction. Keep in mind, the acceleration will be in the same direction as the force. Force is a vector quantity. So when 1 Newton force is applied, say on 0.5 kg object, it will bring how much acceleration? It will bring 2 meter per second square acceleration, because here for 1 kg it will bring 1 meter per second, but if it is the weight is half, 0.5, it will bring 2 meter per second square acceleration, because 0.5 into 2 will become again 1. When 1 Newton force is applied on 2 kg object, it will bring only 0.5, because 0.5 into 2 will again become 1, 0.5 meter per second square acceleration. So what are the characteristics of force? Force is a vector quantity. The change will be in the direction of force. The acceleration will be in the direction of force. Zero force, zero acceleration. When force is not applied, there will be no acceleration. Third point, impact of force is instantaneous. So whenever you are applying the force, the same time acceleration is happening. The moment you remove the force, the acceleration becomes 0. So the time when acceleration is being observed and the time when the force is applied is the same duration. Now what is impulse? Impulse is actually change in momentum. At times, force is applied for a very short duration. So in lieu of knowing what was the force and what was the duration for which it was applied, one just wants to know what was the total impact or what was the change in momentum. And this is what is called impulse. if you recall, force equal to change in momentum by time taken for change. So you can always say change in momentum equal to force into t, time. Force you measure in Newton, time you can say in second. So you can say Newton second is the measurement of impulse or change in momentum. However, change in momentum, because momentum is mass into velocity, it is also can be measured as kg meter per second. Let's do a workout to understand it better. So here is a case when a 2 kg ball hit a wall with 10 meter per second and returns with the same speed. So it's like that, it goes, hits, and then it comes back with the same speed. The question is that what is the impulse imparted on the ball due to collision with the wall. So momentum of the ball before hitting the wall, it's 2 into 10, 2 kg into 10 meter per second. Momentum of the ball after hitting the wall is -2 because it started moving in this direction, -2 into 10. So what is the change in momentum? 2 into 10 minus -2 into 10. So that's makes it 40 kg meter per second or 40 Newton second. Let's do one more workout. So here is a car, and this car, which is moving with a speed of 90 km per hour, comes to a halt when you apply a brake after moving 12.5 meters. And the weight of the car is 1500 kg. The question is, what is the average resistive frictional force that was applied when you put the brake? So what is the initial speed of the car in meter per second? 90, you convert kilometer into by multiplying 1000 into meter, and hour by dividing into 3600, it will give you meter per second. That gives you 25 meter per second is the initial speed of the car. Car traveled 12.5 meters to stop. So if you recall by the formula, and if you don't recall the formula, what I'll recommend, look at these set of videos which are like physics by example, this playlist where I am putting all the videos. This is the third example where I had put that solve that equation, v square minus u square equal to 2as. So you can see this formula if you are not clear, otherwise I have already explained you. So v square minus u square equal to 2as, that's what is the formula that we'll apply to get the acceleration. So if you think of here, the final velocity is 0 when it comes to a halt, u was 25 meter, 2 into a, and s is 12.5 meters. So you put everything together, this minus, which actually gives you the direction of acceleration, whatever it is, it's that. So it gives you, and because the velocity is here in this direction, so it is negative of that. So all said and done, it's 25 into 25 because u square, v is 0, divided by 2 into 12.5 because s is 12.5, this gives you a. And that's how you get a equal to 25 meter per second. So if a is 25 meter per second, what is force? So if you recall, force equal to ma. If you recall, this is the formula that I had shown you, that force equal to ma. And this is the same thing that I am going to use. So here a, you know, a in this example is coming out to be 25 meter per second square. M is 1500 kg. So this will give you 1500 into 25, 37,500 Newton. That's what is the average resistive force. Now let's understand Newton's third law of motion. So third law of motion says every action has equal and opposite reaction. However, you need to understand here action is not a generic term, it actually represents a force. So every force you can say has equal and opposite force. What is the meaning of opposite here? Opposite means the direction is opposite. So force is equal in magnitude but opposite in direction. Now understand some more finer aspect of this. So here the two cars are colliding. What you need to understand, action is, let's say, force applied by yellow car on blue car, then reaction is the force applied by blue car on the yellow car. So understand two things. Action and reaction is same in magnitude. Action and reaction are getting applied on different object because action got applied here and reaction got applied here. And for the same interval, if this applied here for 2 minutes, this also applied here for 2 minutes only. Amount of force is same. If it is applying here whatever force, it is applying the same amount here. However, the direction is opposite. So this is applying force in this direction, this is applying force in this direction. Now let's put it to an example. The example is like that. Here there are blue ball and green ball, they come together, hits each other and moves. So it goes like this, it comes here and then it moves in this direction. Now let's say that momentum of blue ball before and after collision is given by B and B1. So B is a vector in this direction which is equal to m into the velocity of this, and B1 is a vector in this direction. Similarly, you can say that for green this is G and this is G1. Now what is the change in momentum of blue ball? Blue ball change in momentum is B1 minus B. It was B1, it became B1, earlier it was B, and for green one it became G1, earlier it was G. But what brought this change in momentum? If you recall, in Newton's second law it says that force brings change in momentum. The force change in momentum divided by the time taken gives you the force. So essentially it is the force that brings the change in momentum. So however, what more you need to understand, that by second law of motion, this is what it is. Change in momentum is equal to time taken, change in momentum divided by time taken for the change gives you the force. And how much time is taken here to change the momentum? Very much the same time when the balls will collided each other. So it is very much the same time when the force applied on each other. So you can say change in momentum equal to force into time, where time is time taken for the change or time the force was applied on each other. Now let's build on top of that. So change in momentum equal to force into time. We know that force action from blue altered the path of the green, and reaction from green altered the path of the blue. So, but from third law we know that action and reaction are same in magnitude, opposite in direction, are applied on different object for same time period. So what does it mean? The change in momentum of green will be given by action force applied on green, and time the force was applied on green. That is the change in momentum. Change in momentum equal to force into this. Or we can say it is same as reaction force applied on blue and time the force was applied on blue. Now these two things are same in magnitude and this is same as here. However, their direction is opposite. So now let's build on top of that. Because that direction is opposite, you can say change in momentum of blue equal to change in, because if you look at force applied on blue into time taken in blue will give you what? It will give you change in momentum of the blue. Because if you look at force into time is giving you momentum of change in momentum of green. Now you are applying reaction force on blue and time the force was applied on blue will give you what? Change in momentum of the blue. But change in momentum of blue will be negative of change in momentum of the green, because this force was applied on this direction, on green it was applied on this direction, and blue it was applied on this direction. So change in momentum of blue equal to negative change in momentum of green. So you are saying B1 minus B equal to minus G1 minus G. Now bring G1 this side, it gives you B1 plus G1 equal to B plus G. Look carefully. B1 plus G1 was the total moment, is the total momentum after the collision, and B plus G was the total momentum before the collision. So the total momentum remains unchanged, and this is what is called conservation of momentum. After collision, total momentum is same as before collision total momentum. Now let's put that learning into practice. So one question comes, why does cricketer bring their hands down while catching the ball? So if you recall, and let me just first show you what do I mean here, because that will give you a better understanding. So here in an example, the ball is dropped from a very high through a drone, and there is a cricketer here who is trying to take it. Now see it first of all in quickly and just see what happens. So he took it. Now let's see the same thing in slow motion. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just reduce the speed to 0.25 and just see what he does. So when the ball is dropped, he actually, after taking, he brings hand down along with the ball for some time. So look at here. So look at here, what he did. He brought his hand along with the ball for some time. Take a look. So the ball has fallen. He takes it in hand. He takes it in hand and then moves his hand along with the ball very slowly. Just see it. He brought it. He took some time. He did not took it just here. He brought his hand along with the ball for some time. Why did he do that? That's the question. So the question is that, just understand this way, that the force is equal to change in momentum by time taken for the change. Assume this way that there is a 1.5 kg ball traveling with a speed of 30 meters per second. So what is the initial momentum? 1.5 into 30. And when it comes to a halt, the velocity is 0, so it's 0. So what is the total change in momentum? 45 kg meter per second. Now, what is the force that the fielder will observe? It's change in momentum, which is fixed here, because the moment it comes to a halt, initial velocity is fixed, so it is 45 kg meter per second. So what will affect the force that he will face on his hand? It will be dependent on the time taken for the change. So the force acting on the hand will totally depend on how much time is taken to bring the ball to a halt. If it is bring to a halt immediately, if this time is very slow, the force will be very high. But if he moves his hand along with the ball downwards, he is taking more time to bring it to a halt. So he is taking more time to make the change in the momentum, so the force will be lesser. So by bringing the hand down along with the ball, they increases the duration of time taken to bring the ball to a complete stop. So change in momentum is same, but the time taken is more because he is bringing his hand together, and that's how the force observed by the hand will be lesser. Let's understand one more example. So here there is a gun, and at 10 gram, this bullet is of 10 gram, it leaves the gun with a speed of 500 meters per second. What will be the recoil velocity of the gun? Recoil velocity of the gun is essentially a backward movement of the gun the moment the bullet comes out. How will you know that? So understand it this way. In the beginning, the momentum of the gun and bullet which is inside is 0. When the bullet leaves the gun, its momentum is 0.01 kg because it's 10 gram. So 0.01 kg into 500 is 5 kg ms, 5 kg meter per second. But as per the conservation of momentum, the momentum of gun plus momentum of bullet after firing has to be equal to the momentum of gun plus momentum of bullet before firing. Before firing, the momentum of these two are 0. So momentum of gun and momentum of bullet again has to be equal to 0. But momentum of bullet is in this direction, so momentum of gun has to be in this direction so that they cancel out. So what is the momentum of the bullet? In this direction is 5 kg. So then in that case, this 10 kg has to move backward in such a way that it is again 5 kg per meter, 5 kg meter per second, because that's what will cancel out. Whatever is in this direction the same is in this direction, and that's how the sum of the momentum will again become 0. So as the gun is weighing 10 kg, it has to recoil by a speed of 0.5 meter per second, because 10 into 0.5 will give you again 5, very much, and that's what will bring the law of conservation of momentum into picture. I hope it became quite clear to you. I will suggest you to subscribe to the channel so that you can get to the good videos. You hit like button if you have liked it. I will also suggest you to spread the word so that other people can also get advantage of this, and leave the honest comment so that I can use that to bring more and quality videos. Thank you so much for watching.